All I knew originally it had been it was gonna be like Limp Dependence Day when the record was gonna be out on the 4th, but now it's something funky like.
The album's title is Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water, and that's probably the most stupid name we could think of.
We're going into the studio in January to do a third record, and a lot of people have thought, well, wow, Significant Other is doing so well, you should probably milk that and
go make the record, because we don't literally need to be in here making a record right yet.
I talked to Fred the other day, and he's probably just as scared as I am. He said he's going in to make his new record, and he has to make a song that's better than the Nookie, otherwise nobody's gonna care, you know.
Getting a record out this quick after our last record is just, I think, the way it should be. Artists that sit around for years and don't, give you a record.
Fred Durst here, and if you're all about the Nookie, Limp Bizkit, chilling up in the Playboy Mansion with the Deftones, Methods of Mayhem, Mark McGrath. I don't even know who else is here, but if you want to get it on, you need to stay right here at the Playboy Mansion.
I got something to say about a band called Limp Bizkit. Fuck yeah!
Alright, partner. Keep on posing, baby. You know what time it is.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to part 3 of the Rise and Squall of Limp Bizkit. This is our mini-series on Renegade Jukebox on the Renegade Pop Culture Podcast Network. Of course, my name is Mike. I'll be your host. Joining me, we've got Nick.
Prepare for as many bad Fred Durst impressions across about an hour and a half as you're going to get.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about the big one. This is the band at pretty much the height of their popularity and the height of nu metal's popularity. This is Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water.
This will probably be a repeat joke throughout this episode, but we can't stress how massive this album is just because this is the fastest selling rock album of all time. It seriously commercially beat out Pearl Jam's Versus. It was one of the highest selling records of the year it came out in 2000. This is as big as nu metal would ever get. But it's also kind of a sign of things to come, really, and kind of where things start to go horribly, horribly wrong for the band. Obviously, we'll get to that in the final episode, but in due time.
For now, though, I want to just point out the quick turnaround between Significant Other and Chocolate Starfish.
This was 6 months.
Yeah.
You literally just toured behind one album for 6 months and we're just fuck it, we're bored. So to, I guess, kind of pick up where things left off, really, after the Family Values tour wraps up and the System of a Down tour wraps up too, Limp Bizkit honestly just returned to the studio absurdly quick in almost kind of a shockingly fast way. I'm kind of speechless, honestly. I don't see this happen very much.
Yeah, me neither. And what's also weird is, unless I missed very specific references in any of the lyrics, they never really bring up Woodstock.
Yeah, again, to still pick up where we left off with the Trainwreck review we did, you would think, given how much shit they took for what happened at Woodstock 99, that they would either bring it up in some capacity or either it would have affected their career in some way. If Woodstock 99 would have happened with social media around, guaranteed Bizkit would be eviscerated by the press, which, yes, they were at the time, but I think social media would amplify that, in my opinion. But the album itself never really confronts how they deal with the fame they experienced after Significant Other had come out and the fame and popularity that they had. maybe it's a case of they said all they needed to say with the rearranged video, but I mean, shit, the Marshall Mathers LP brought up Woodstock 99 more, and Dr. Dre and Eminem did not play that fest.
Yeah, that point is kind of fascinating, but maybe you have a point. Maybe the rearranged video was like all they needed to say so that this album can be, well, whatever it is.
Yeah. So to follow up on our previous point, like this was really the shortest turnaround time, to the point where I don't even think I ever brought this up to you, Mike. Did you know that Rick Rubin was actually supposed to produce this thing originally?
As a matter of fact, I did not know that. Was there any real reason why Rubin kind of ended his relationship with the band, or I guess vice versa?
Absolutely fuck all. This I will bring up in the Results May Vary episode, but like this is kind of the beginning of Durst over promising everything based off of how famous he is and then under delivering. This will be a repeat thing throughout the rest of his career. But yeah, basically Rick Rubin was supposed to produce this album, but it just wound up never materializing into much, to the point where they just said, you know what, screw it, let's either produce it ourselves or just bring Terry Date back, which obviously they just ended up bringing Terry Date back, and well, the rest is history. So I guess with that in mind, the album title, Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water. So let me ask you something, Mike. Which title is worse? Because this was originally supposed to be called Limp Dependence Day and was supposed to come out on the 4th of July in 2000.
Asking me which one is worse is tough, because both of them are bad. But while Chocolate Starfish is a very juvenile title,
because it's literally just a euphemism for assholes and jizz.
At least it's not as politically incorrect or just straight up offensive as Limp Dependence Day.
It's just a bad pun to insert limp into the title, but nonetheless, so ridiculous title ideas aside, I feel the need to bring this up because this has been a recent event in the world of heavy music. So the album is receiving its first vinyl repressing basically since the album came out. Like, as somebody myself who pays a lot of attention to what goes on in the vinyl world, I mostly see a lot of bootlegs floating around on Instagram because, well, I still own my CD copy, and a lot of the liner notes never match up with the bootlegs, to the point where they literally include lineup photos from Results May Vary into the mix. So yeah, this is kind of a huge deal until you realize that Interscope kind of fucked the band over.
Oh.
Yeah, because I don't know if you heard about this, but what wound up happening was Durst didn't even realize this vinyl pressing was happening. So he outright was just like taking shots on their Instagram page, just calling it like a really fake bootleg. But then after actually talking with the company that's doing the repressing, it turned out that Interscope basically kind of screwed them over. So guess who doesn't own the masters?
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so related but unrelated, I low-key bought this album for the lulz. Yeah, guys, I attained poser status. I own Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water on vinyl. It hasn't arrived to me yet, but eventually it will be mine. And then I will laugh that I spent money to purchase this thing on plastic. Anything else you want to actually, just one more thing that I really gotta feel like should kind of set the tone for the rest of this was there was a reason I actually included Chino from the Deftones interview at the beginning in the intro. Was like, it really does feel like this album is the sound of a band trying to ride their own hype train and delivering a sequel album in the shortest time period possible. Like, Chino from Deftones outright says in one MTV interview that, Durst really feels like he's under a lot of stress and pressure to deliver a follow-up album, or in Chino's words, he's got to write a song better than Nookie, or else who's going to care? But I kind of feel like where Deftones was coming from a place of, how can we move away from this genre? Even though I don't consider Deftones a new metal band, but they are part of that. They are kind of part of that lineage to some degree, unfortunately, as great of a band as they are.
I would call them new metal adjacent. Like, they're not of the same genre, but they came up in like the same neighborhood.
Yes, definitely the same neighborhood. Definitely, you could argue Adrenaline falls under that category, but like, even Around the Fur sounds nothing like Korn. But at the same time, like, Deftones kind of were just thinking more about like longevity and maturing their songwriting. Bizkit really just felt like, from the sounds of this album alone, that they wanted to stay in the year 1999 forever. And low-key kind of paraphrase Podcast 99, the 90s really were, at this point in time, they really were kind of a 12 or 13 year decade when you really think about it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. At least musically, it doesn't feel like the 2000s really started until maybe 2003.
Yeah, I can get behind that statement. Before we really start tearing into the music on display, though, I made you suffer through something, Mike.
Yeah, Nick and I stumbled across an old MTV special where the band had a launch party for the record at the Playboy Mansion.
And oh my God, how did the entire time watching this thing, I've known this has existed forever, but holy shit, people, how did we go from $3 bill y'all to this in just 3 years?
I feel like we like blinked and just woke up in a different era.
It's like the angels from Doctor Who, instead of just killing us, just made us go, hey, here's this startup new metal band. Oh shit, now they're having their launch party at the Playboy Mansion.
And just some of the most random celebrities are there. Like, they're the usual suspects. Rob Zombie's there. Chino is there. Tommy Lee is there because he's at like all of these things.
And because Tommy Lee needs to be the biggest pervert in the room.
Naturally. But then you got like the most random ones, like Ashton Kutcher and the other dude from That 70s Show.
Better not to name him, otherwise the Scientology community is probably going to try and kill us both.
Yeah. And then Howard from the Backstreet Boys. Like, what?
Allison Hannigan from Buffy the Vampire Slayer even shows up at one point. Courtney Love shows up. Like, this just kind of goes to show you how much MTV really was the sixth member of the band at this point.
And at this time, this was like one of the few networks that like showcased both like the poppiest of pop groups and also Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, which is just kind of surprising given how Bizkit were the anti-pop band getting played on MTV at that point.
And yet Durst was like best bros with Carson Daly.
Yeah, and all of the other VJs, like he's palling around throughout the rest of the hour of that thing. Like, I almost recommend people go watch this thing just so that way they can be like, what the fuck am I watching even?
It's very much a product of its time.
And not really in the good way. Let's, I guess, leave the conversation at that. And I actually have my CD copy in hand and ready to talk about the music on this thing.
But first, we have to talk about the intro. I mean, we don't have to, but it is how the album starts.
Which, yeah, to be fair, though, this really does kind of get, like, just imagine being in a crowd during one of their shows and just having this come on the PA.
That's really the point of this intro in particular.
To kind of also speak of the tour behind this record, mentioning live shows, one of my previous jobs was going through like a lot of really bad turnover trying to find a supervisor for my department at that point. And one guy we got from Ontario who actually got to see Limp Bizkit play in Toronto when this album came out. And Mike, guess who they were touring with?
Oh boy, who?
Eminem, Papa Roach, and Exhibit.
That is a lineup.
Yeah, that is very much of its time. I'm gonna kind of leave it at that, even though it would have been wicked to see Eminem touring behind the Marshall Mathers LP with the actual like stage setup of his old home from his childhood. And then other parts of that tour were Godsmack and DMX. So as of its time as it is, there's the odd, really cool part of them touring behind this thing. But then we get to one of my first of many really bad impressions of the Red Cap Man himself. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavored water. Like, you can't lie. The riff, the intro, it all gets you hyped to hear the record. And then this is the part where we kind of have to really try not to repeat ourselves, because guys, I know it would be easy to talk about how bad the lyrics are on a Limp Bizkit album, but like in particular, the lyrics somehow managed to get worse.
You know what? This lyrically is, in my opinion, the worst track. So let's get all of our jokes out of our system now.
Yeah, because I mean, I really feel like, because again, I don't want this to just be an anti-Durst podcast, because I just feel like it'd be just too much of an easy target. We don't want to needlessly dunk on something that we don't need to. But the most notable thing about this song is that this is a quote diss track towards Trent Reznor, but nothing really in terms of lyrical content is thrown back in Trent Reznor's face at this point. It really just uncomfortably recites the chorus to Closer and sprinkles in references to other Nine Inch Nails songs like Burn and The Perfect Drug, which if you haven't heard Burn or The Perfect Drug, considering neither of those are on albums, go jam those. They're fucking gangbuster tracks. But like, seriously, how is this in any way any really like major zinger towards Trent Reznor?
Yeah, what even is the diss here? I fail to comprehend what it is he's trying to say.
Because it's kind of backfiring, given that you are just reciting the chorus to Closer and then having to give Trent a writing credit so that way Trent makes more money off of your song. So it's just kind of like, what was the entire point of this lyrically? This is going to be something we're going to bring up a lot. And I remember this from an old Much Music special, that it was a series of specials that would run on Much Music back in the day It was called Egos and Icons, and they did an episode specifically dedicated towards Limp Bizkit. And it's at this point where the band really does sound like they're just like firing on all cylinders on a musical level. Like, we don't want to necessarily dunk on the song 100%.
Oh no.
But it really does feel like Durst is under this ridiculous amount of pressure to deliver an album and to deliver lyrics for said album, but can't come up with anything that creative. So why not make a reference to how if you say fuck 2 more times, that's 46 fucks in this fucked up rhyme? Like, it's lyrically, it's not a creative song, but the main thing that stands out the most is just how Wes Borland is just popping off in terms of just creative riffs. Like, even the cleanly played section for the verses, I've never heard anything like that on an album.
Wes is doing a lot of the heavy lifting on this track in particular, but really the whole thing.
Oh yeah, like, it's even worth noting, going back to the whole Playboy Mansion special, that even Wes Borland does not seem to be excited about putting this thing out. Like, he even kind of makes a joke to Ananda Lewis at one point where he's just like, I don't even really like any of the songs on this thing, really. Which, we'll probably touch on that in the last episode here, but yeah, like, he does not seem like he wants to be here. But I mean, one part of me can't really blame him when this is some of the lyrical content he has to work with.
I gotta hand it to him though. If this is what, and I can only assume it's him phoning it in, sounds like, we have to recognize him as like one of the greatest musicians of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Like, for somebody who is, quote, phoning it in at this point, it really sounds like he at least still showed up for his day job on time and tried to have like some kind of quality control in his work. But little bit of a spoiler alert, this, to kind of use a bit of a job analogy, this is kind of the point where you start looking for other work. And I'm just going to leave that sentence at that. But speaking of outsourced choruses, next song.
Yep, the next one is, I think this was the first single that wasn't featured on a movie soundtrack.
Yeah, that's going to be something that's very debatable, but this was a simultaneous single because, yeah, this album got 2 singles in one day. That honestly never happens anymore. That's just kind of the anomaly that this record is, that it got 2 singles the same day to promote the same album.
But yeah, we're talking about My Generation.
Yeah, of course, because again, outsourced choruses continue, because I don't want to say it just outright steals the chorus to My Generation, but at the same time, like, it's very obviously lifting stuff like My Generation by The Who. Durst outright mentions Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses at one point.
And I believe there's also a Spice Girls reference in there too.
Yeah, which, again, given that they were the anti-pop group on MTV at that point, that's just all the more surprising. Then again, he dated Jerry Halliwell at one point, so what the fuck do I know, I guess. Rather than just waffle on about the lyrics being kind of just what they are, I just want to bring up more of how great Wes is on this song in particular, especially that breakdown, that bridge part that kind of slows things down.
Oh, that part is great.
Oh yeah, just where it's like where it's just kind of like, it's lower on the distortion, but it also kind of feels like Wes is just palm muting the top string of the guitar, and then just the band absolutely pops off during that breakdown section. My main thing is I kind of would have preferred a guitar solo over a DJ solo. That's just me, but I also get it. It's new metal. It's not going to have solos.
Do you feel like the song was kind of written to be like a live anthem, especially with how the chorus is written?
Kind of. I'll mention this throughout a lot of this episode. I have seen Limp Bizkit live, but granted, I missed hearing this song mostly because I was watching Gojira at that point. So I kind of had to move over from the side stage over to the main stage, which was like a good solid 3-minute walk. So yeah, if I did manage to actually see how the crowd responded to a song like this, I imagine it would have been pretty explosive. But again, this is another case of the lyrics are kind of just are what they are. You kind of have to either accept them or you don't, I guess. The one thing that I would want to bring up is the music video, because obviously if we're talking about how big Bizkit were and how MTV was the 6th member of the band at this point, we would be remiss if we didn't bring it up. Anything you want to say about the video?
I don't remember too much about this video in particular. The other two big ones I have a little bit more to say about, but yeah, MTV, they put in the work, like putting these guys over.
Oh yeah, for basically recycling the Stained music video, which this video is not really doing itself any favors by referencing the Mud Shovel video, but at the same time, I get it. They're Durst's band. They're his proteges. Sure, use the same set. But like the main thing I kind of wish they would have shown more was this is the point where we kind of have to bring up another outside thing from the songs. Bizkit, long before this album was even announced, did a Napster sponsored tour, which that obviously would have had to put them at odds with Metallica. But no, they did a tour called the Back to Basics tour with Cypress Hill weirdly opening.
Huh.
And I say weirdly opening because, like, why are Cypress Hill the opener?
You would think it was the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, granted, the idea behind the tour was cool, having it just be a series of free concerts where you literally just line up hours, even days in advance, just to get your wristbands so you can even go into the venue and then go see the band. You'll probably never see shit like that happen.
Oh, of course not.
And plus, also, I bring up that it's sponsored by Napster because it's kind of surprising that Durst became at odds with Metallica, but I always bring this up when defending them from the whole Napster situation. Dr. Dre also got in on that lawsuit and was pretty heavily involved. You know, I get it. Hip hop's more, shall we say, affluent, I guess, in terms of just, you know, how much money and how it's kind of based around making money, I guess, for lack of a better sentence or phrase. But I mean, it's kind of just surprising to me how two juggernauts, Metallica and Dr. Dre, were going up against Napster, yet Metallica took the most shit for it.
I've always felt that was kind of unfair. And I guess whatever differences that these two bands would have clearly was resolved years later when they were on the same tour.
Yeah. And plus Lars praising Bizkit in MTV interviews at that shortly thereafter, I should say. I just think it's so notable, but so weird at the same time, because this album really is just that weird anomaly of this really shouldn't work. Yeah, a lot of it doesn't work, but fastest selling rock album of all time. How that works, I don't know.
Speaking of songs that don't work, track number 4 is kind of like Hot Dog, a very frustrating piece. The track is Full Nelson.
Except Full Nelson doesn't make me feel really awkward by Durst screaming how he wants to fuck me like an animal. Like, no, that Hot Dog is all kinds of no. At least Full Nelson, this kind of continues the groundwork from Nookie, if you really think about it, because like Wes Borland is back to using his 4-string guitar that he used to write Nookie with, and does something actually pretty heavy with it. Like even the little verse bits that he has on this song, they're pretty unique sounding and kind of just take like the general concept of what Nookie started with, but just kind of amplifies it and just makes it more aggressive.
I do really like what he does on the chorus. That's probably the most like interesting arrangement musically.
Yeah, the pinch harmonics and everything on it, it's really awesome. And plus, I would imagine if I got to see this live back in the day, like especially on that the anger management tour with Eminem, I can only imagine the pyro and the giant, and no joke, literal giant robots on stage that the band would walk out from. I imagine that would have been awesome to see.
Yeah,
but then,
I would have loved to see that too.
Then you get to the problem again, and I want to stress this. We're not trying to needlessly dunk on Durst for the sake of just dunking on him. Like, if you really want that, go watch Rock's really great episode of Regretting the Past about this album. But the problem really with this song lies with Durst himself. The lyrics really are melodramatic on this thing, especially that bridge right before the "we have the fire to burn this motherfucker down." That part, like, dude, fucking stop your crying. Like,
what you said in our chat was accurate. This is really just a temper tantrum.
I ain't believing all the shit you've been talking about me. Yeah, I told you guys this would be filled with impressions because yeah, there's some bits on this that I'm like, dude, this really could have done with another draft. Really. When you get down to it, what does Durst really have to be angry about at this point? I mean, he's literally the VP of Interscope. He's directing his own music videos. He's got movies that he's working on at this point. What do you have to be angry about instead of just how much people hate your band?
It's very artificial anger.
At the same time, it feels earned from the music side of things, but the lyric side of things, it doesn't earn it either. My main bit of praise beyond just how good the music itself is that it at least doesn't outsource or just outright sample or steal a chorus on this thing. That's about as high praise as I can kind of give it.
Yeah, I have to agree with that.
This one I will pop off about on because I'm not gonna lie, guys. I have the most nostalgia and attachment to this one. My Way. Yeah, it has another outsourced chorus. This time DJ Lethal is literally just right before the verses, just scratching Eric B. and Rakim's My Melody. But at the same time, it's kind of what I expect out of a Bizkit song in terms of the music side of things. And even the lyrics, as corny and cheesy as they are, I don't know, there's something just kind of entertaining about it still to this day. And plus, I also remember just memories of seeing the video for this as a kid and making my Star Wars Legos fight each other to it.
There is a lot of nostalgia attached to this song in particular. And I'll be honest, the first time I heard it, I thought it belonged on Significant Other. which is probably the highest compliment I can give it, because stylistically it does sound pretty similar.
It's not off, but at the same time, it's not really a song about relationships the way a lot of Significant Other was. My thing with My Way is just really as corny as the chorus is, and that's one thing I will praise, at least. As bad as some of the lyrics can get on this thing, the biggest praise I can at least say for Durst, he at least gets that bad chorus or those bad lyrics stuck in your head for days.
Yeah.
Like, this time I'm gonna let it all come out. This time I'm a stand up and shout, I'm gonna do things my way. It's my way, or the highway. It literally just sounds like full Nelson again, but this just works better for me, I guess. And again, Wes's guitar work is really unique and different and not just atypical nu metal at this point. And just the band, I really feel like the main thing we can praise about this album in particular is just that the band felt like they were prepared to deliver this sequel in the sequel album in the shortest time possible. It's just a lot of what brings it down is Durst, but you can either, if it's something you can look past to some degree, you'll love it. But if you already don't like this band to begin with, it's just going to be everything you hate about Limp Bizkit amplified.
Last thing I'll say about this track before we move on is got to give a shout out to John Otto's drumming on this, because he's doing some really complex, rhythms in this. And yeah, like you said, the band knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, actually, before we really continue the music video, we got to bring up, this is also a case where, yes, this is insanely corny and of its time, but I at least can look past it still to some degree, even with nostalgia in mind. I mean, it literally just seems like the band is just having fun doing all these ridiculous costume changes, from like being cavemen to being a motorcycle gang to, just being this jazz group with a traditional L and B in the background. Like that's amusing, and nothing's too cheesy or ridiculous in this situation. So yeah, My Way, it's a product of its time, but it's a product of its time I'm more than willing to go back to.
Can you say the same thing about the next one?
Oh dear God. So, throwing this out there again, I've been editing together the thumbnails and the intros for this series, and I'm particularly proud of it just because I'm going through either all of these clips I've seen on YouTube before and kind of cutting them together, either to the Vitamin String Quartet tribute or just, in this episode's case, the intro to this album. I knew there was only one way to really intro this album, and that was the Mad TV parody of Rollin'.
I think that Mad TV parody has helped or hurt the reputation of this song in particular so much more than anything else.
I think the song does a perfectly good job of hurting anything to do with nu metal's reputation, because guys, this is almost so bad it's good, but then it loops around to being bad and then loops around to being good again. So notable things about this was simultaneously released as a single with My Generation. But the main thing about this song is that it just really feels like self-parody in the worst way possible. Like, this just does not work. Yet somehow it's the single the album's best known for.
It works because it doesn't work, but it doesn't work because it works? Question mark.
Like, it feels like it's supposed to be a parody of hip hop videos, like with Wes Borland dressing up like some faux gangster and grills in the video, but it doesn't really say anything with that parody. Like, I feel like one part of me wants to give them the benefit of a doubt and say that they were going for something and it just didn't translate well. But at the same time, people just took it as just this rap rock new metal rap metal bro anthem for frat boys to get drunk to. So which one is it? It just doesn't really work. And plus, I guess the other notable thing about this song is that this was also the Undertaker's intro theme at one point.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
And okay, so Mike, I'm going to throw this question your way then. Given how popular and successful this song was this bigger than Nookie was?
Honestly, that's a good question. Like, the only way to answer that is to ask, well, which of these two has been parodied the most? And I don't recall SNL or Mad TV doing a Nookie parody.
Yeah, like, as cornball as the lyrics to Nookie could be, people were still actively singing it, and I guess, for lack of a better phrase, they could still to some extent take this band seriously. But at the same time, I kind of can't help but feel like this is where, like, even Dino from Fear Factory kind of put it the best. Like, he really felt like this is where people stopped taking nu metal as seriously as they did.
Yep, this was the beginning of the end for the genre.
Yeah, like, you can't really come back from a song basically about driving a car, but also is supposed to be making fun of rap videos, but also being a love letter to Roland just does not work. But I was saving this for when we were going to start recording, Mike. You want to know what I think they did? So the songwriting story behind this song, and I'm going somewhere with this. I know I'm jumping ahead in the track listing with this, but just trust me. This song was basically written between Fred Durst and Swizz Beatz. And you want to know what album also came out this exact same year? Skull and Bones by Cypress Hill. And guess what the technically two big singles were off of that album? Rock and Rap Superstar. You know who they're trying to be.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, exactly. They saw how well Rock Superstar did on the rock charts and how well it did at rock radio and on MTV, because it had Chino from Deftones and Everlast on it, and then the rap version had Eminem on it. It's like, yeah, you guys know what you're doing. You're trying to capitalize off that same success, but the big problem, you didn't release both versions back to back as a single. You released My Generation at the same time. So it just really feels like it's just capitalizing on their popularity at this point, which you can't necessarily blame them. But at the same time, it really just does kind of make this album feel more and more like a cash grab. All right, enough about Duncan on Rollin'. Let's continue with this album, because Living It Up. You described this in a way I found interesting, because I never kind of saw it this way.
What did I say? I said it was basically a mashup between Break Stuff and the Eagles' Life in the Fast Lane, which they genuinely sampled that track.
Yeah, but another outsourced chorus for this album.
I only recently picked up like the Break Stuff similarities the second time I listened to it, and it's not like the whole riff. It's just one of the bass lines that Sam Rivers kind of pulls out.
I never really saw it that way. I made this note re-listening to this album the couple of times I did was that Fred really does sound like he's trying to do his best Eminem impression on this thing while trying to act tormented by how famous he's gotten.
You know what? I kind of hear that a little bit in his delivery.
He's trying to do the whole Slim Shady thing of doing the whole voice change up stuff that Eminem does on the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP. But instead, it's just over arguably some of the best music on this album, I'd say. Because like when you really think about it, the mix on this song in particular, it's awesome. Like each member of the band really gets to show off in their own way. Like in the chorus, like as much as it does irk me that they're just lifting choruses from other famous songs. But the way Lethal does the scratch in the background while Wes is playing like the heaviest riff he can, Lethal is just doing like a subtle scratch in the background to launch back into the Life in the Fast Lane chorus. And plus just Sam and John just keep things punchy with the rhythm section. So it does show that the album is at least flowing well and having some variety, but at the same time, it really is just the lyrics kind of are just cornball all over this thing.
That's like the tug of war that you really have to endure while you're listening to this, but credit where credit's due. There's a lot of groove in the instrumentals of this track.
And then the last notable thing is that Durst hopped on stage with Christina Aguilera to do this at the MTV Awards. And it's just done in such the weirdest mishmash way possible that I don't understand what Durst was going for. Maybe he was just trying to get laid with Christina Aguilera. I don't know. But given what Christina's said in interviews, good on her. She told him no. Good work.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else you want to add about Living It Up or just anything about that? The MTV Awards, just have they gotten better or have they gotten worse?
I honestly stopped paying attention about a decade ago.
It's not like MTV paid attention to metal or rock like that massively past 2003. So you know what? It just makes me happy that I eventually just discovered bands like Slayer and Death. So you know what? And you know what? At least to give Bizkit credit, I probably wouldn't have discovered heavier music if it wasn't for listening to something this angry at this point. Too bad the opposite is of the next song. And don't interpret that as a slight because I don't hate this one. No pun intended.
The one is, we'll get to the favorite tracks segment at the end, but I'll give a slight spoiler. This will be one of the three.
It is the most lovey-dovey nu metal song in the history of nu metal.
I don't know if that combination of things is allowed to exist, and yet here we are.
Like again, the lyrics don't make me uncomfortable on this thing. Maybe that's the thing, is just that it's not surrounded by either lyrics that just make you uncomfortable and go ick, or it's surrounded by something so mind-numbingly stupid that you kind of just go, well, this is a step up.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Like the lyrics for this are pleasant, and Durst actually has a good singing voice.
My main source of praise, and this is going to be a huge spoiler alert for the next episode, but it's at least not as creepy as how the next album is. So props where it's due, I guess. But my main source of praise for this track is actually the trip hop interlude.
Oh, yeah.
That I almost kind of wish could have been its own song. It would have been unique. It would have been ballsy.
I'm actually surprised that it wasn't. I mean, aside from the fact that maybe to keep the album at a certain length, they just combined the tracks, but
the problem is that this album is an hour and 15 minutes in length.
Yeah, which it sounds a bit bloated when we lay it all out.
Yeah, because now we get to what I would argue is the worst song on the album. And all I will say is, what's the difference? This is not.
Get Your Groove On is, let's just say, I completely understand Wes Borland basically excommunicating this one.
To kind of give context to what Mike just said, so years after this album had already been out, Wes Borland did a Kerrang interview giving his top 5 favorite and least favorite Limp Bizkit songs, and this was in his least favorite category, of course. And yeah, this was up there with, like, he loved the music to Nookie. Like, I wish I could source this for you guys. Like, this was a legit interview that Wes did, but for whatever reason, this has just been long buried in the old internet, I guess. But no, Wes outright hates this song. He mentioned how he liked the music from Nookie, but really couldn't stand the lyrics. He put Rollin', both versions, in his worst category. I forget the other ones he would have picked for worst. But yeah, this was one of them. And he even mentioned how the band actually got sued by Cirque du Soleil over it.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this album on Spotify, they replaced the original version with Dirt Road Mix, which appeared on New Old Songs, which no, we are not going to cover.
Yeah, I'll kind of explain that more when we get into Results May Vary, but yeah, we're not reviewing an album with like 7 versions of My Way on it. That's not happening. But back on Get Your Groove On. My main thing that I have to say about this is that Exhibit cannot save this thing. Like, he's going off lyrically on this thing, but the lame beat, the subpar chorus from Durst, like, it just does not give him a ton to work with. Like, End Together Now worked because DJ Lethal really did make a unique beat. DJ Premier added his own little flair and spice into the mix with the drum tracks, getting Durst to redo some vocals, and plus just Method Man being phenomenal on that track. This is just kind of like, let's just have a rap song be on the album because we can.
Yeah, it feels obligatory, and because there already is the original version of Rollin' down the list, this just feels unnecessary.
Yeah, and I guess to kind of add things on a more positive note, just given how I've mentioned the anger management tour a bunch at this point, just go listen to My Name featuring Eminem on it. It's a really good diss track, one of the most underrated Eminem diss tracks out there. Just go listen to that instead of this. It's a better Exhibit song.
Now we get to one of the other great singles, and if you're a Mission Impossible 2 fan, you'll recognize this one almost immediately. Take a look around.
See, I really wanted to see that movie as a kid, but then I just never did for whatever reason. And also, yeah, just I remember the music video being all over the place for this back in the day. We'll get to the video in a minute, but Let's just go off about the music. This really does feel musically like it belongs on the soundtrack to this movie. At least I can give that much credit to it.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, it does a really good job of actually respecting the original source material of the theme song to the TV series, but just amps it up and makes it a pretty kick-ass nu metal song, if I'm being honest. The main thing is just that lyrically, what the fuck does this even have to do with Mission Impossible?
Yeah, no surprise there that the lyrics and the music are again fighting with each other.
Well, it's not even so much that they're fighting with each other. These aren't the worst lyrics on the record, but it's more just, what does screaming about how people hate you have to do with espionage or spies or like doing your own stunts?
Yeah, had the lyrics been more focused on like the story, this would have been pretty perfect.
Or even outright made references to the movie. Like the same could be said about I Disappear by Metallica not really having anything lyrically to do with the movie it's featured in. But things are kind of wrong. Like I Disappear by Metallica still felt appropriate for that movie, especially with its video and like the band recreating scenes from like classic movies and having a bit of Tom Cruise at the end of the video. It still felt appropriate for the movie, but yeah, the music video is kind of where it's the biggest thing you can compare it to the movie, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Did you at least get the chance to watch the music video? Because the weird thing is this never aired outside of it aired outside of the US, but not in the US.
I think I've only seen clips of the video, but never like the whole thing.
Okay, so this is going to be great to describe to you. So the band just rolls into this parking lot, jamming brake stuff in their car. They all get out, and Durst picks up a phone that's ringing and just is like, yeah, these guys are going to walk in this diner with this briefcase. You got to steal it from them. The song kicks in, and it's literally them going to this diner going like, hey, can we get some disguises? The waitress tells Durst no fucking way, but then Wes is the best part of the video. He just hooks up with this one girl, I'm assuming, because later he's in her uniform pretending to be a waiter himself. And Durst is just dressed up as some busboy, and then they have to try to steal this briefcase from these secret agents. And the other cool part is when Wes actually he actually draws up the secret agents really cruelly and gives it to DJ Lethal, making this like soup with too much hot sauce in it. Like, Wes Borland really is the best part of the video, and he does a lot more spy shit than Fred does in the video.
Okay, now I need to seek this out.
Oh, it's the band performing stuff. It can be cool until Durst starts like pointing at his ass and like starts thrusting at the camera. Like that can be cut out. But the rest of it, like, where Durst is like rapping in the camera and then Wes is just like noodling away on his guitar during the heavy bits, that's the best part. But the only thing I can really say musically that's critical of it, I kind of just wish it would have ended with that punchy guitar part with the dan, 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 that part. That's how the song should have ended.
Yeah, fair. I like the way it ends, but I think you're right. Ending on like the main Mission Impossible riff would have been more effective.
Actually, I've got a really great story. I don't know if I ever told you this. When I saw Limp Bizkit at Heavy Montreal in 2018, because they were filling in for Avenged Sevenfold, who had to drop out of the lineup because M Shadow's voice was all fucked up at that point. When they played Take a Look Around in the set, this was the last song during that slower bit that's just kind of like palm muted. I somehow managed, with a guy in a cattle decapitation shirt, managed to get everybody to spread apart, and we did a wall of death to the Mission Impossible song.
Oh, that is awesome.
That it's hysterical that I did that with somebody wearing a cattle decapitation shirt, but at the same time, it was like, that is how you end a really good day.
Oh yeah.
Now we gotta launch back into the album. I don't really have much to say about It'll Be Okay.
Honestly, me neither. This song is just kind of is.
It's a song that's not remarkable, but it doesn't detract from the album. It's not like it's No Sex or Stuck off of the previous two albums, but it's not standout either. My biggest main compliment is the main riff kind of has a lot of like, I don't know what it is about it. It just kind of gives me that feeling of nostalgia for whatever reason. Maybe it's nostalgia for that time period, but I guess I don't know. It's just not a particularly amazing song, but it's not outright bad either.
Yeah. I have a lot more to say about the next one, Boiler.
So I've got two notable things about this song, actually. So the main thing is that this was actually a fan requested single. They actually did like a poll on their website back in the day to where, hey, you get to pick out the next Limp Bizkit single, and this is going to get a music video shot for it too. And this ended up being the most voted for. Weird enough, given that the album version is 7 minutes with the interlude at the end of it.
Huh.
But the other notable thing, this song would never be played live until almost a decade after the album had already been out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so take with that useless information what you will, I guess. But my main thing about a lot of this song, this really does feel like the Tool influence actually gets to shine and the band gets to pop off, just going like, how can we be as experimental as possible while also kind of having to be in the constraints of, we have to make a verse chorus breakdown kind of a song. Because Wes's riffs really do sound otherworldly and kind of just make you feel like you're hearing something that doesn't sound typical of other nu metal records at that point. But it also just doesn't sound like mindless bulldozing or warble distortion either.
I would say musically, this is like the band at their best.
Absolutely. Like even DJ Lethal, who a lot of the time just does his usual wiki wah scratching that he does, he actually gets to do a lot more. Like, I can't really tell sometimes in the mix. Either sometimes it'll just be legitimately buried underneath everything, but it's not just typical DJ Lethal wiki type shit. And also just Wes's whammy bar section at the end of the song. That's kind of what lands the killing blow to me.
Same.
Even if the verses have the lyrics crawled up your butt somehow. Again, fastest selling rock album of all time, people. But this is where we this isn't even so much of a critique of the song as much as it is the music video. What the fuck does the music video even mean?
All the top scientists in the world couldn't give you a satisfactory answer.
You know, even though Durst literally did list off all the people who would catch COVID in Roland. Nonetheless, so basically the music video, I've seen the Wikipedia page always say it's supposed to be one big reference to The Wall. I don't understand it myself personally beyond the animated section halfway through. It's literally just, it opens up on a woman we assume Durst has just had sex with, and then she starts bleeding from her head and shoots a bomb out of her mouth, and he jumps out of a window. and then walks over and starts eating a burger full of maggots, and Wes Borland's head just gets decapitated by nothing. Like that's most of this video. It's just like, how can one part of me respects them for being like, how can we make the most arresting image we can? But what does it all really mean at the end of the day? Is it just arresting images for arresting images' sake, or is it actually trying to say something? I don't know what they're going for.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, like, you would think a big moment like Fred dropping his Yankees hat on the ground at the end, like that lingers on for a good 30 seconds. You're thinking that's supposed to mean something.
But nope. It means jack all.
He literally just goes back to wearing it in every press interview he does. So it's just like, what was the point? I kind of waffle on about that, really, just because, like, Hold On does not give me very much to go off of.
And we mean no disrespect towards the late Scott Weiland, but...
Oh, Scott Weiland's awesome on this thing.
Yeah, he's great. The song, it is flat, it goes nowhere, and all I put in my notes was Z. Just...
Honestly... I do think that if you cut out the rap version of Rollin', this, and the kind of useless interlude at the end of Boiler, you really could end this album at Boiler and then just cut straight to the outro, and you wouldn't miss much.
Yeah, that sounds accurate.
Like, literally, most of Hold On is literally just the same clean guitar line played for 6 minutes with no deviation, the same, like, a kind of tribal-ish drum beats being played, but it never really feels like it's building to something or about to explode. It just goes nowhere. So lastly, the last official, unofficial, whichever song, because this album's over officially, the rap version of Rollin'.
Which, as I pointed out earlier, is actually the original version.
Pretty much, because it's basically Swizz Beatz giving DMX, Method Man, and Redman the excuse to kind of outclass Durst and just have a soundtrack over it.
I said this before, but I honestly kind of respect Durst for allowing himself to be outclassed.
Oh,
because
he doesn't. My main thing too is that he doesn't act like he's the best rapper on the planet. It's not like some Lil Wayne bullshit where he acts like he's the greatest rapper of all time when he's not. You know, I can at least admire Durst on that level, I guess.
Yeah, but also, like, he has, like, some of the best people on this track. Method Man, Redman, and of course the late DMX.
Oh yeah, DMX basically kind of just steals the show on this song.
It basically becomes a Rough Riders song by the end.
Oh, to the point where even Durst actually just outright shouts out Rough Riders at the end.
Yep.
And then the outro. My only notes, 9 minutes. Really? Do we really need 5 minutes of Ben Stiller laughing at the end of this thing?
Not even a little bit.
Fastest selling rock album of all time, people. Yeah, that's all I really got to say. If it just kept it to the weird alien voices at the end, probably would have worked better. And then have some silence, and then all the weird voicemails that Durst gets left from people such as let's just rattle off everybody who makes an appearance at the end of the record, because weird enough, Mark Wahlberg makes an appearance again, Ben Stiller, Stephen Jenkins, and Rob Dyrdek makes appearances at the end of this track. So yeah, why did this need to be 10 minutes?
Honestly, I haven't the slightest clue.
Well, that's even this entire album. Like, I don't think this would have gotten away being released in the streaming era. Definitely not.
Oh yeah, no. They would have made lots of cuts.
Like, this would be memed to death if it was released today, but just given that this was released in the year 2000, in the infancy of the internet, it's kind of amazing, but at the same time, you kind of can't help but go, how the fuck did this thing become so successful?
And like we have stressed numerous times, this really is like the end of nu metal being taken seriously by the mainstream.
Yeah, because when you really get down to it, because again, I don't consider Slipknot or System of a Down nu metal bands, but just given how they came out of that era, both bands really just do everything in their power to distance themselves from that sound. And that's why I kind of hate the everything after Iowa sucks crowd, is because they kind of just gloss over the fact that nu metal really stopped being popular kind of after this album came out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of stuff that was on Ozfest was either getting booed or laughed off stage or just never really took off to begin with.
Yep.
I don't even really know what to say here. This album really is a product of its time, but I would say it's enjoyable in that, oh my God, how did a band get away with releasing this? But at the same time, you kind of can't help but go, God, how did they get away with releasing this? Like, it does feel like one massive troll.
Yeah, my thing with this album is it's neither good nor bad, because like we stressed a lot, the band itself is like they're pulling out all the stops musically. We'll get to favorite tracks in a second, but yeah, musically this is like rock solid. It's lyrically where we tried our best not to just dunk on Durst this whole time, but at the same time, he's giving critics like us like plenty of ammo.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to feel like I'm needlessly dunking on him, but at the same time, he doesn't really do himself any favors when you really think about it. You kind of have to hear it for yourself to experience it. And is it an experience worth taking? That's my thing. If I were to recommend this to someone, I would recommend it to somebody who already, guaranteed, if you like Limp Bizkit, you've already heard this album. But like, if you're just getting into them or you're curious, start with Significant Other. It's the better of the two albums at this point. And I guess to kind of give my closing thoughts, I'm going to have to lift the All Music quote on Wikipedia. It really is the sound of a band determined to deliver a sequel in a finite amount of time. And I feel like that is insanely accurate. And also, I feel like the need to mention this too, because holy shit, I forgot. Mike, did you know this was in the 1000 albums you must hear before you die at one point?
What?
Yes. And I've seen copies of it where it was in that book. So
wow.
Like, to say this album had no impact, like, obviously commercially, this is the highest peak of nu metal we'll ever see beyond, and I feel the need to mention this too, now that I just thought of it. This actually came out the same month as Linkin Park's debut.
That puts a lot of things in perspective.
Yeah, it's just kind of astounding how this is like the peak of the record industry selling physical copies of albums. So I guess with that in mind, I guess I just can't help but stress this for part 4 and the conclusion of this. This album really is the encapsulation of where things started to go wrong.
One more thing before we wrap this up. I mentioned we have at least 3 favorite tracks, or at least I do personally. What do you have?
Okay, so I feel like singles and deep cuts are kind of fair game in this case. So My Way, Take a Look Around, and Boiler, probably the best representations. And if I had to throw a deep cut in there, throw in Living It Up.
You know what? I'm going to go with basically the same thing.
Just you were going to pick the one and throw it in there for kind of a 5 best.
Yeah, I feel like the one has to be thrown in there.
And that's the thing. We kind of feel like, yeah, this album does have a reputation with its title and everything for being bad, but you know, even albums that are seen as bad kind of deserve their own day in court, as you said.
Exactly.
So I guess with that in mind, we will see you guys for the conclusion of the Rise and Squall of Limp Bizkit in part 4, where we cover their last, I guess you could say, big album. Results may vary, and holy shit, it's kind of amazing that this band kind of just burned so bright and their popularity was just for such a brief period of time, but at the same time, that brief period of time felt like an eternity.
Oh yeah, during that time, it felt longer than it actually was. Taking a step back.
Yeah, it really is kind of unreal. So I guess, yeah, that's all I got to say. We don't want to give away too much for the next album because, we have a lot to go over.
But until next time, Nick, where can everyone find you online?
Super Saiyan Death Metal God on Instagram. I post mainly album covers, movies, video games, just whatever I'm in the mood for. I tried an attempt at doing a 31-day Halloween horror challenge throughout October, but obviously I got busy and we were plotting out the last 2 episodes of Rise and Squall of Limp Bizkit. So yeah, just life happens, I guess. And I also mod for Catherine Isabel from Ginger Snaps whenever she streams. So if you come say hi, we'll gift you subs and just, yeah, come hang out.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at Captain K42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. You can also find us on YouTube, on Podchaser, on the Banana Meter. And you can listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. You need to escape, so do we. That'll do it for this episode of the Renegade Jukebox. We will catch you guys later. Peace out.
Yeah!